Spotlight still on the 2016 budget document as the controversy over it appears to be abating. President Muhammadu Buhari says no alteration as the real version arrives in the National Assembly. Hello everyone and welcome to Politics Today on Channels Television, as your political program now comes to you every day of the week at this time. It's the 19th day of the year and the contention over the 2016 budget document raged on. But now it appears some level of respite is coming with a letter that President Muhammadu Buhari transmitted to the National Assembly today. Can the deliberation over the document begin now? Well, that's our focus on the program. Welcome. I'm Sheung Okinbale. But let's begin with some of the latest stories. Of course, the story of the bail of the People's Democratic Party spokesperson, Chief Olisa Metu. It appears the prayers of some PDP women and the party's chieftain's home state of Anambra is working, as today a federal high court sitting in Abuja has admitted that Mr. Olisa Metu be granted bail in the sum of 400 million naira with two sureties. As that was happening in the courtroom in some part of the nation's capital, right at the hallowed chamber of the Nigerian Senate, the president's letter to the National Assembly about the 2016 budget was read at plenary. And here is what the letter contains as read by the Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki.
It will be recalled that on Tuesday, 22nd December, 2015, I presented my 2016 budget proposals to the joint sitting of the National Assembly. I submitted a draft bill accompanied by a schedule of details. At the time of submission, we indicated that because the details had just been produced and will have had to check to ensure that there were no errors in the detailed breakdown contained in the schedule. That has since been completed, and I understand that the corrections have been submitted. The National Assembly will therefore have the details as submitted on the 22nd and a copy containing the corrections submitted last week. It appears that this has led to some confusion. In this regard, please find attached the corrected version. This is the version the National Assembly should work with as my 2016 budget estimates. The draft bill remains the same, and there are no changes in any of the figures.
Some confusion where the president was talking about. Let's now bring you some clarity in the budget outlook. What, of course, in December of 2015, President Muhammadu Buhari presented the 2016 budget to the joint session of the National Assembly. Just a brief details of what the budget contained. Of course, that budget was 6.08 trillion naira proposal for the 2016 fiscal year. And of course, that budget was titled the Budget of Change. Well, the oil benchmark in that document was at $38 per barrel. And of course, we all also know that the production projection for oil was put at 2.2 million barrels per day. And of course, on the 12th of January, when the senators came back from the recess, there was an alarm over the issue of a missing budget. What? A lot of issues about what happened to the original document, and perhaps there could be a new version of the document. Of course, what we have seen today when the president sent a letter which was read. The president sent a letter, as we understood, from last week, Friday, and of course the letter being read on the floor today. But now, this is what the Senate President, from when there was a committee set up to really find out what exactly happened to that document. Well, this is what the Senate President came out to say to the President's Special Advisor on National Assembly. He said that what the Senator Ita Enang distributed is different from what was presented by Mr. President, that President Muhammadu Buhari. That's according to the Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki. Well, and today, January 19, 2016, a letter from President Muhammadu Buhari was read at plenary. Well, the over 6 trillion naira budget was tied to budget of change, but then what change can we see in this document as the lawmakers will now sit to deliberate on the matter? Well, joining me in the studio is a policy and governance analyst, Ademola Oshodi, joins us in the studio. Thank you so much, Ademola.
Thank you.
Let me start by asking you, a lot of talk about the missing budget. Now the president says, well, there is no original, there is no versions, there is just a version of the document. But there was a lot of politicking about this issue of the budget document. What do you make of it?
Well, I think it's rather interesting, the missing budget. The first thing that came to my mind was, does it have to be a hard copy? I mean, what about soft copies? Like, well, how could some physical item of a budget be such a big contentious issue? Whether we miss the budget but it should be soft copies, and why are we sending out hard copies? But that's just by the side. But I think it's just politics. I think it's just politics. I think there's a big problem with communication with the houses, the House of Assembly, the presidency, and maybe even the hype by the media. So I think it's a storm in a teacup. But the most important issue is to ensure that there's a clear communication on what exactly the president delivered in December last year and what is available now. Is it consistent? Is it what he read out at the House on that day? And is there any changes? There's issues right now about amendment and correction. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I would thought maybe those things are quite similar, whether it's corrected or it's amended. But the most important thing is there's a consistency, and we have a valid document in place for the country.
All right, Demola, just a moment. Let's go to our Abuja studio now, where one of the senators who sat there in the Senate chamber will be joining us at some point on the program. Well, I understand that we'll get the connection fixed right after now. Well, Demola, the issue of the PDP has been in government for 16 years plus. The APC is just getting a shot at being in the ruling party, and this is the first budget of the PDP, the APC, I beg your pardon. Now, this time around, there seems to be a lot of issues around what exactly the document contains, even when the document is still not, they've not dug into the content of that budget. But tell me, what do you make generally about the atmosphere surrounding from the moment when the president presented that budget and now?
Well, I think it's the oversight process, and I believe that it's going through the right process, even if it's not missing. The fact that tremendous amount of attention has been focused on this document, on this very important legislation. So I think that is healthy for our democracy. It's healthy, the fact that as far as I'm concerned, it sounds a little trivial, but a missing budget, missing document. The most important thing is that we are actually debating it, and it's a concern. Everybody will be watching their back. The presidency, the House of Assembly, everybody's making sure the due process is followed. This is new for Nigeria. Nigeria is an emerging democracy.
When we wonder, Demola, sorry very much, to cut you in here, what the Senate president said, that what the president's aide, the Senate advisor to the president on National Assembly matters, yes, what he said about him, that he sent to Italian, and the says about him that what he distributed is different from what was presented by President Muhammadu Buhari. How can that be possible? What happens? He does not work there, but exactly we know that he's been there before.
Yes.
What kind of thing do you, in your mind, do you picture could have happened if this kind of statement is coming from the Senate president, for example?
Well, I don't want to prejudge anybody, but if there was an original document and there's another document that has got a little bit of alteration,